Hey, what's up YouTube? This is part 2 of my how to prepare your Honda Goldwing for a long distance trip. So what are the 3 things that'll put you down faster than anything else on a long distance road trip? That will be your tires, that would be your battery, and engine overheating. Those 3 components will put you down faster than anything else. So in episode 1, we actually checked the cooling system. We topped off the fluids. So in this portion of the video, we're going to get into just kind of tuning up the engine, take a look at the battery, and change out the spark plugs, and even change some of the fluids. Now, I'm going to put on some rubber gloves. Anytime that I work on my motorcycle, I always put on rubber gloves just to keep my hands clean from dirt and debris. So next we're going to get into checking out the left side of the Honda Goldwing. So looking at the battery of the Honda Goldwing, I installed these battery extender bolts. If you missed a video of me installing the battery extender bolts, click on the link in the top corner and it will walk you through how to get the battery extender bolts installed. If you do not have battery extender bolts installed on your motorcycle, in the event that if you need to jump off your bike, it's going to be difficult to connect the positive alligator clip to the battery. So these battery extenders makes it very easy to connect any booster cables to your battery in the event that you need to jump off your battery. So we're going to be using this digital battery tester, and it's going to let me know if the battery is good, bad, or weak. I will include a link in the video where you can pick up one of these battery testers. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to hook an alligator clip to the negative. We're going to hook one to the positive, and as you can see, it's showing 12.8 volts, and we're going to hit start test. And it's just going to run through a series of tests, and it's going to let you know if your battery is good, bad, or weak. So as you can see, it's showing that my battery is 12.7 volts, and it's showing that my battery is good. So this battery is good. And this is a side note that if you have the ultimate seat, or if you're using the original Honda bolts on your original OEM seat, I highly recommend to replace the OEM Honda bolts with these pointed bolts. And the way these pointed bolts are designed, it's designed to find the threads inside of the seat. When you use the flat bolt, a lot of times you find yourself struggling to put the seat back on. With these pointed bolts, it makes it a lot easier. And also, I highly recommend that if you pick up these bungee assist, and with these bungee assist, you could actually strap bungee straps. You'll have a place on your back seat to place your straps. So I highly recommend picking up the bungee assist for your Honda Goldwing and these pointed bolts. I will include a link in the description of where you can pick up these for your Honda Goldwing. And basically the way it works, you place it on the other side of the grab rail. As you can see, the way it bevels out, you want to make sure that it bevels to the outside. You want to take your pointed bolt, Next, you want to take your 6mm Allen, and it's easier to find the threads with the pointed bolts. Just tighten them in. So as you can see, now that bungee assist sits behind the grab rail, and now you have a place to connect your cargo strap. Just tighten them down. It makes putting on your seat a lot easier. In this portion of the video, I need to remove the spark plugs from the Honda Goldwing. In order to access the spark plugs, I need to remove the side covers. But for the sake of time, I'm going to speed up the video. If you need step-by-step instructions on how to remove the side covers to access the spark plug wires, click on the link in the top corner and it will walk you through how to remove the side covers to access the spark plug wires. According to the Honda Goldwing maintenance schedule, you want to replace the spark plugs every 16,000 miles. We have 3 plugs that we need to replace. I'm going to go back with these Honda OEM NGK original spark plugs. They already pre-gapped. So we need to take off the spark plug. We're going to take our spark plug wrench, which is a 6/8. Along with our braking bar. Going to reach in. And we're going to change the spark plugs. Those spark plugs actually look pretty good, but we're going to change them. If I go through the trouble of exposing all of the spark plugs, it's best to just change them. And this is a part of your basic tune-up. You can check your gap settings according to the service manual. And make sure you do 1 plug at a time. It's always good to put back some dielectric grease to make it easier to remove the spark plug wire when you change out your plugs. I've already installed my dielectric grease. Snap it on. Go to the second plug. Just do 1 plug at a time. I highly recommend buying a Honda Goldwing service manual when you perform your own work. Inspect the spark plug. The spark plug looks good, but since I'm going through the trouble of checking the spark plugs, I'm just going to change the spark plugs with these original Honda OEM pre-gapped NGK spark plugs. Don't want to over tighten it. Push in on the plug until it snaps. We have 1 more. now that I have it out, reach in, and that's the toughest plug, the one towards the front. Inspect the plug. Plug looks good. Tighten the plug inside. Just want to tighten it down. Don't want to over tighten it. Put back your dielectric grease inside of the plug. Snap it back on the spark plug till you feel it snap in. Second wire. And the third wire. This side is done. I like to take my air gun and just blow out any dust. And also, while you're on this side, it's good to check the crankcase breather. You want to take off this little cap and make sure that no water is inside of this hose. So we're going to take some pliers and we're going to remove the clip, take out this plug, and make sure if there's any water inside this hose that we drain it out. Right side, I'm going to reach in and take off this little clip. I want to take off this plug to make sure that I don't have any water in this line. And this is how you check the crankcase breather. So we got to get this plastic cap, make sure no water is in this hose. If it's water in the hose, let it drain. As you can see, we had some water in this hose. You want to let that drain. That's called your crankcase breather. I'm going to wipe off the cap. Reach back in, grab the hose, and I'm going to reinsert this drain plug. And now I can reinsert the drain plug. Take the needle nose pliers and I'm going to slide that clip back down over the drain plug, back around. And that's your crankcase breather. You want to check that every 4,000 miles. Drain that hose. If there's any liquid in there, let it drain out. Anytime you work on your Honda Goldwing, I highly recommend purchasing a Honda Goldwing service manual. So I've changed out the spark plugs on the left side, and now we can work on changing out the spark plugs on the right side. Got 4 bolts on the bottom of the highway peg. Next, I'm going to take my pick tube and pop out these little rubber grommets, these rubber inserts. Be careful not to lose them. You have a total of 5. Next, I'm going to take my 6mm. You have 2 smaller bolts at the top, 3 smaller bolts at the bottom. Next, we're going to remove the spark plug wires. The longest wire goes to the farthest plug. So we're going to remove the first one. Remove the second one. And we have a little short one right on the front. So I'm going to take my 5/8 spark plug socket and I'm going to reach in and we're going to take out these 3 spark plugs. There's one. Take out the second spark plug. And we got one more here on the front. There's 3. I'm going to replace these with these Honda genuine NGK plugs that I picked up from the dealership. They already pre-gapped. I'm going to take my spark plug socket and be careful. Reach in, tighten down your plug. Take my second pre-gapped NGK plug. So now that I've inspected the spark plug wires, they look good. They're not broken. They're not burned, cracked, or frayed. Now I can replace the wires back onto the plug, push it in till it snaps. Shortest plug, go to the front. Do the second plug, push it in until it snaps. Take the third plug, push it in on the spark plug until it snaps. Feed the wires back inside of this cable stay, and now I'm ready to put the panel back on the side of the engine. Now I can take this cover, place it back on the side, put my 2 smaller bolts at the top. It didn't take long at all. Only just a few minutes to do the plugs. We're going to replace these little rubber inserts back into the center. So looking at my maintenance schedule, we're going to change the final drive oil, and according to the maintenance schedule, the final drive oil is to be inspected every 8,000 miles, and you're going to replace it every 24,000 miles. So to change out the final drive oil, I have an oil pan. I'm going to use a 17mm open box wrench, and I'm going to be going back with some 80 weight 90 gear oil, and it's specially formulated for high powered gears. So underneath, you have two bolts underneath. Your bottom is the drain, your top is the fill. I always recommend taking off the top bolt first, just in case you strip it or if you can't get it off, because if you drain the oil first and you can't get the top bolt off, you're dead in the water. So take off the top bolt first, then take off your bottom bolt. I'm going to take off the top cap first. Turn it counterclockwise. Next, I can take off the bottom bolt, which is my drain bolt. The oil actually looked pretty good, but I'm just gonna change it since I'm already back here and I have the Honda Goldwing lifted off the ground. Now I can screw back in the drain plug. I'm gonna tighten down the bolt, the drain bolt, tighten it back down. Now that I've placed the drain bolt back in the rear end, now I can fill it with oil. I'm gonna take my pump can that I fill with my rear end oil, and I'm just gonna pump it and fill it until it runs out. As you can see, clear fluid is starting to run out. I want to hand tighten the cap on first. I don't want to cross thread it. And now I can tighten back down the top cap. Don't want to over tighten it. So in this portion of the video, we're going to perform an oil change. I'm going to go back with a full synthetic. I'm going to be using the Amsoil. The Honda Goldwing calls for a 10W30, but since I pull a trailer, I'm going to go back with some 10W40 since I'm going to be in high elevation and I'm going to be putting a lot of miles on this Honda Goldwing. I'm going to go back with the Amsoil 100% full synthetic that's formulated for wet clutches on the Honda Goldwing. When you're ready to change your oil, just take out the dipstick so some air can get down in the engine. So we're underneath the Honda Goldwing. We're going to remove this panel from the belly pan. I highly recommend that if you ride a motorcycle, a Honda Goldwing, that you put a belly pan on your bike. It doesn't matter if it's a wing stuff, if it's a MacGyver, you need some protection. Keep that lower engine protected. So I'm gonna remove the panel. We're gonna take off the drain bolt. And I'm gonna be using my all-in-one tool. I will include a link in the description where you can pick up the 3-in-1 smart tool. It has the drain bolt on the rear and it has the oil filter on the front, so you don't have to look around for all of the parts to do your oil change. Just use the 3-in-1. Take off this drain bolt and the crush washer. Here we go. And you want to just let that oil drain. While that's draining, I'm going to take my 3-in-1 and loosen the oil filter. Changing the oil is the blood of the engine. It's one of the cheapest things that you could do to keep your bike running as it should. The Honda Goldwing calls for an oil change every 8,000 miles. Your first oil change is 4,000, but every 8,000 thereafter. So when you first buy your Honda Goldwing, if you're wondering at what mileage do you change your oil, you change your oil, your first oil change at 4,000 miles and every 8,000 miles thereafter. And we're going to put back 3.9 quarts of oil. What I generally like to do is take my oil and just pour some over in the filter. The Honda Goldwing calls for 3.9 quarts of oil. I generally just fill it back with about 4 quarts. Just let that soak in the filter. I'm gonna pour some more oil over into the oil filter. And that's one thing about working on your bike. When you do it yourself, you know it's done right. Spin that oil filter back on the engine. Take the 3-in-1 tool, tighten down the new oil filter. Next, I'm going to take some of this brake cleaner and just clean some of this oil from around the engine area. Take my air hose. I'm going to be putting back the AMSOIL. And we want to fill it back up with 3.9 quarts of oil. And this AMSOIL actually went up in price. It used to be like $12 a quart. Now it's about $17 a quart. So the price of oil is really gone up. I highly recommend to buy oil when you don't need it. Don't wait until you need oil to purchase it. You're going to pay more for it. Buy it when you don't need it. Put it on your shelf, and when you're ready to do your oil change, you'll be ready to go. It seems like when you need it, it's more expensive. So I generally buy the oil and put it on the shelf. That's one thing about oil, it doesn't go bad. So what is your favorite oil that you use when you do your oil change? I've heard some bikers say they use Mobil 1. I've heard some bikers say they use castor oil, Honda brand. But what is your favorite oil that you use when you change the oil on your Honda Goldwing? My favorite is Amsoil. The thing I like about Amsoil is it's formulated for wet clutches. Amsoil has been around many, many years, and it meets or exceeds the Honda requirements for their engines. So my favorite is Amsoil. And we're going to crank up the engine, and I'm just going to let it run for a few minutes and verify that I don't have any leaks underneath. I'm going to take this large funnel and I'm going to pour the oil over into this container where I can take it up to an AutoZone or take it up to a parts store, and I'll let them dispose of it. And they generally don't charge to bring in oil. If you do not have a large container to store your oil, then you can pour it back inside of the bottles that the original oil came out of. I just find it easier if you have a big container to store your oil. So this is going to complete the inspection of the Honda Goldwing as we prepare for a long distance motorcycle trip. We have checked the battery to verify that the battery is good. We also checked the charging system to verify that the alternator is good. As a part of the tune-up, we changed the spark plugs. Also, as a part of the tune-up, you need to change the air filter. The Honda Goldwing calls for an air filter change every 12,000 miles if you use the Honda original OEM air filter. On my last filter change, I went with the K&N, and it's a 50,000 mile air filter. Since the air filter is so hard to get to, I went with the 50,000 mile K&N, so we're not going to change the air filter, but that is part of the tune-up and inspection that needs to be performed when you're preparing for a long distance trip. We also changed the motor oil. I went from the 10W30, but I went with a 10W40 full synthetic since I pulled a trailer on my Honda Goldwing. And I also changed the final drive oil. Remember, the three things that will put you down faster than anything else will be your battery, which we verified that the battery in the charging system is good. Engine overheating, which we topped off the coolant, and we know it's good as well. And the most important thing that will put you down faster than anything else is the tires. So on the next episode of performing an inspection for a long distance road trip, we're going to check the tires and we're going to check the brakes, but we're not going to do that here today. Remember, we're bouncing around, so this video is not going to cover everything. Some things are going to be left out. We're going to try to pick it back up in a later video. So I hope this video helped some of you guys out. If you guys like this video, I want you to click the like button. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys a little bit later out here in the Caliente garage.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette, yeah. Ride around the city with a stick all black.